How big does my pond need to be? And the short answer is it depends. But what many people don't realise is that pond size quietly affects almost everything. Filtration, temperature, oxygen, fish health and selection, plant choice, and how much work you're going to be doing long term. Today I want to explain why pond size matters and how water volume influences the entire system. But first, if you don't already know me, my name is Kev. My aim is to help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, feel free to subscribe and visit my website, Ozponds.com. Before we go any further, let's clear something up. When I say small pond, I'm talking about backyard ponds. That includes container ponds, courtyards, and even fairly decent sized suburban ponds. So when I say large pond, I'm not talking about a big backyard feature. I'm talking about dams, lakes, or acreage ponds that cover a good chunk of land, sometimes acres, and they hold hundreds of thousands or even millions of litres or gallons of water. That distinction is important because both of these ponds behave very differently. The simplest way to think about pond size is this: more water equals more stability, and less water equals faster changes. Small ponds heat up faster and they cool down faster. They react quickly to feeding, when rain falls, leaves enter the system, and sunlight. These all affect the pond and change the water quality. Large ponds still change, but they change slowly, and in nature, slow change equals stability. So filtration is often where size matters most. In backyard ponds, waste can build up quickly and filters clog faster. In large ponds and dams, sediments can build up over very, very long periods of time. And that's not to say big ponds are perfect, because the quality of water flowing into them will have a big impact on how they perform. Big ponds, lakes and dams are found in catchment zones, so the water and what it picks up from the surrounding environment will have an impact on the water quality. Also, just because they're big doesn't mean they can't be overstocked. All water bodies need to be able to process the nutrients that are produced inside the water. Too many nutrients being produced and not enough consuming it or recycling it up the food chain, and you'll still get problems. Smaller ponds are easier to design a filtration system for. Smaller bodies of water means it's more cost effective to create a complete system with pumps, areas to capture sediments, areas to grow good microfauna and bacteria, and this can make it very easy to achieve good water quality the majority of the time. That's why I always size filtration based on water volume. If you want help with that, I've got calculators and helpful articles on Ozponds.com that walk through it step by step. So temperature's a big influencer. As we mentioned, backyard ponds heat and cool quickly. Stability is very important to the inhabitants of any body of water. Some are better adapted than others at navigating sudden changes. So it's important to choose species of animals that are adapted to the habitat that you're creating. A really common cause of fish death in small ponds is lack of oxygen. Warm water holds less oxygen, and all the life inside the pond needs oxygen. Also, when the weather is warm, all biological processes are sped up. Things decompose quicker, they grow quicker, multiply quicker, and that adds additional demand on the oxygen levels. In backyard ponds, having pumps, waterfalls and circulation all help to mix water and air. This helps the oxygen absorb into the water, and shading can also help to keep the water cooler. I have shown small ponds without any circulation, lots of plants and a deep substrate for filtration. But in these ponds I keep very small hardy fish and in low numbers. On the flip side, if you're dealing with freezing temperatures, you want to have the pond deep enough or create enough volume to avoid the entire volume of water freezing solid. It is okay to have the surface water freeze in most cases. Some of you in cold climates might like to keep certain fish outside in the warmer months and bring them in during the cooler months. This is always fun for serious fish keepers. But if you're lazy like me, having the right types of animals that are adapted to your conditions make life much easier. Large ponds, lakes and dams hold more dissolved oxygen, and they're mixed by wind, temperature changes and biology living inside the water, which brings up a very important point. When does a pond start circulating itself? There isn't a hard line, it's a gradual shift. But once a pond reaches a large scale, a few things start happening. Wind pushes the surface water, temperature differences create slow vertical movement, daily heating and cooling mix layers naturally. That's when circulation becomes more about physics than about pumps. Backyard ponds, even fairly large ones, usually don't reach this point. They're too shallow and too contained. So for backyard ponds, pumps and thoughtful circulation are incredibly useful. Nature helps, but it doesn't replace design at that scale. Again, it is possible to create a small backyard pond without pumps and circulation, but be aware you will need a lot of plants and there won't be much open water to look at. Speaking of open water, fish need space. In small ponds, overstocking happens easily, feeding mistakes show up fast, and waste can overwhelm the system quickly. But here's where I want to be really clear. I don't think people should start with a really big backyard pond. I've built plenty of small container ponds, some with pumps and filters and some without. Small ponds are great teachers. They show you very quickly what works and what doesn't. And if you can make a small pond work, you can always scale it up. Keeping smaller hardy fish is a great way to learn about water chemistry, how plants absorb nutrients. You'll get to observe tiny creatures that help maintain water quality and how the fish eat them. Ecosystems are complex and diversity makes everything easier. Seeing how all the different elements interact, well, I find it wonderful and amazing. Plant choice is closely tied to size. Large unlined ponds can have really aggressive plants that soak up lots of nutrients, things like cattails. These plants work great on the margins of large unlined lakes and dams, and certainly improve water quality. In backyard ponds, I'm quite selective in the plants I use. I like to find the balance between function, nice to look at, and easy to maintain. I love bog filters as they incorporate plants but still allow me to have large areas of open water. I like to incorporate that with some kind of skimming system to keep the water nice and clear of debris. That also helps keep the pump maintenance low as they rarely clog. And if you don't care about open water, you could utilise a very diverse range of plants throughout the pond to maintain good water quality. I do this on very small container ponds, as the gardening is very manageable on a small scale. The larger it gets, the harder I think it becomes, but that's just my bias. Having a good filter system I find cost effective, and it always gives me my desired results. So you can build a pond with a few litres, a few thousand litres, or millions. There is no correct size, but water volume is the silent partner in every pond. Once you understand that, the easier everything else becomes. If you want help designing a pond that suits your space and budget, check out the free resources at ozponds.com. Or if you want the full system I use to build my ponds, my Pond Formulas blueprint walks through it step by step. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. See ya.